Kevin Wood.
Okay.
Nate,
Hey.
I sent you that email.
I see that it's 6 o'clock. We're supposed to have Reverend Rick Sturgill from Real Life Ministries join us for our invocation tonight. I don't see him on here yet, so I'm going to give it another 30 seconds or a minute, and then we'll have a silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance if he doesn't join us. All right. So we were supposed to have Reverend Rick Sturgill from Real Life Ministries join us tonight for prayer. He's obviously not going to make it or having some type of technical difficulties. So if you all would just pause for a moment of silent prayer. Amen. If you wouldn't mind standing, I've got a flag here for you. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Larry,
Here.
Lenny,
Here.
Harvey,
Here.
Hawk,
Here.
Klein,
Here.
Pierce,
Here.
Wrist.
She's showing up. She's got to unmute herself. Beth. I'll call her and have her chime back in. Go ahead with the rest of the roll call.
I finished roll call.
Oh yeah, she's last. You didn't give me any time to call her. Next, we have in our agenda packets the Finance Committee meeting of November 23rd. She's trying to unmute herself. She just texted me. The Finance Committee meeting minutes of November 23rd, 2020. and the regular council meeting minutes of November 23rd, 2020. Are there any errors, omissions, additions to those meeting minutes? Hearing none, those meeting minutes will stand as approved. Next on our agenda is audience participation. We have a few invited guests with us this evening. First is the Ironton football team, and I can't see them yet until they unmute themselves and start talking. They're not on my screen, but Coach Pendleton, if you don't care. All right, thank you.
We're here. I'm here with the seniors.
If you
For the
don't care to
graduate-
go ahead, if you don't care to go ahead and introduce whoever yourself and whoever you have with you there, and then the mayor is going to read a proclamation and put it up on the screen for us all to see.
Absolutely. You know, obviously myself, I'm Coach Trevin Pendleton, head coach here. With us, we got Ayrton Barnes, Trent Hacker, Cameron Deere, Kyle Howe, Rocky White, Matt Davis, Dylan Carpenter, Ashton Silva, Dalton Crabtree, Reed Carrico, Owen Eisen. We're missing a few seniors, but we have majority of them here.
Well, thank you all for joining us tonight, and we appreciate your efforts on and off the field. I know today has been a disappointing day for Mr. Carrico back there behind you, but I wanted to say to him that in the city of Ironton, he is Mr. Football, and for years to come, there'll be plenty of kids wanting to wear number 28 and fighting over that one. So if it matters to him, in the city of Ironton, there is no such thing as Corey Kiner. Reed Carrico is our Mr. Football. So the mayor has a proclamation to read for you guys. Thank you, seniors, for all your hard work. Thank you, Erickson Barnes, for taking my kid to football practice every day. But go ahead and put it up on the screen there, Sam, and read the proclamation. Coach, he's going to put it on the screen. He's going to share it with us and read it to us.
Better.
It's giving me some trouble. Hold on. It's saying only moderator can share screen, but I thought I was a moderator too.
There you go.
Oh, did you unlock it?
No?
No. Give me a minute. There we go. You see it?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes.
right. All right. I'd like to deliver a proclamation proclaiming Saturday, November 21st, 2020 as 2020 Ironton Fighting Tigers Football State Finalist Day in the city of Ironton. It is with great pleasure, as the mayor of Ironton, state of Ohio, with the city council, to recognize and honor outstanding achievements. And we recognize the Ironton Fighting Tigers 2020 state finalist football team. And the 2020 Ironton Fighting Tigers averaged 38 points per game, while only giving up an average of 10 points per game, and finished the regular season 6-0 in a COVID-19 shortened season, ranked number 1 in Region 19, number 2 in the final AP poll for Division 5 in Ohio, and OVC Conference champions, and 36 school playoff appearances, which is tied for second all-time in Ohio High School Athletic Association history, and advanced to the state championship game for the 10th time in school history with a 22-19 win over Cincinnati Ryder Bacon. And Ironton Fighting Tigers finished the season 11-1 and state runner-up, and the city of Ironton, along with Ironton High School, is proud of the dedication and determination this team displayed to become the best within the state of Ohio. Therefore now, I, Sam Cramblett, Mayor of Ironton, Ohio, do hereby proclaim Saturday, November 21st, 2020 as 2020 Ironton Fighting Tigers Football State Finalist Day in the city of Ironton.
Thank you, Sam. Other council members that would like to say something? I know Chris Haney's dying to say something.
Yeah. Coach and seniors, and the coach, you said this at the welcoming ceremony coming back from the state championship. I had a chance to talk to some of the seniors, and you're producing fine young men, and they're a tremendous asset to the community of Ironton. Not only on the football field, but as citizens, and hopefully we can get some of these guys to stick around and maybe take my job here before too long. So appreciate what you guys are doing. I appreciate all your guys' hard work. So keep it up.
Thank you, guys.
Mike, did you say something?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Coach, seniors, thank you for joining us. Thank you for what a ride it's been in a year that's really sucked. That the highlight of the city of Ironton was that we had our last proclamation was to declare porch tailgating, for lack of a better term, because I forgot what we actually called it. Happy hour in the city of Ironton. That was the highlight of the COVID 2020 year so far. So thank you to you guys for providing the entertainment and the relief from the pandemic for the city of Ironton, and for those folks that didn't get out on November 19th to send them off. The streets of Ironton were packed with people socially distanced and shooting off fireworks and honking horns and ringing those damn cowbells, and it was quite a sight to behold. It took me back to the 80s and 90s in Ironton, and that's a good thing. I say that as a good thing. So thank you to the seniors that have done the hard work off the field to get to back-to-back state champions, and thank you to Coach Pendleton and your staff for all the hard work off the field that is unrecognized, that you're not paid for, but really makes a difference in getting back to the northeast part of the state every year for the last 2 years. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you guys, and honestly, thank you guys for this recognition. These seniors and this group of kids, they deserve it. They put in a lot of work and a lot of countless hours, and they're a great group, not only on the field but off the field as well. So they deserve all the recognition, and I appreciate you guys recognizing that and giving them that recognition.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You guys have a great evening.
Next, we have Mr. James Casely with us this evening, and Mayor, you wanted him to give us an update.
Yeah, James was going to give us an update on where we are with our EPA talks and the mandates that we're dealing with in the consent decree. And I had sent all of you yesterday the proposal we had from IBI Group on our holistic feasibility study that will help us address the long-term integrated plan that we're working on. But I wanted to let James kind of take over and maybe a little more detail.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've spoken to many of you, and I've toured parts of Ironton with many of you, and as you know, the mayor and I, and now Kevin Wood, and Randy Stoll with IBI are working to help the city navigate the current consent decree it's under with various agencies, state and federal, related to largely CSOs. You'll recall that there was at one point a feasibility study that was proposed by E.L. Robinson that was intended to look at certain components of Ironton's combined sewer system. That report was never received by Ironton. That largely led to a shift towards IBI as your outside environmental consultant. IBI has prepared a detailed proposal for you that includes their approach to how they would prepare a holistic, larger scale feasibility study for the city of Ironton. Mayor shared that with you. It looks like it was yesterday at about noon. At a high level, Schedule 1 is what lays out what's relevant here. The project consists of the development of a general plan for the city of Ironton to study three components of its wastewater treatment or wastewater system as it relates to their consent decree and integrated planning. Those components being the wastewater treatment plant, the combined sanitary sewer collection system, and then stormwater pump stations and storm drainage off of the US 52 corridor. The importance of this is that it largely will shape how we propose to the agencies that we modify the consent decree. So I spoke to Nate at length about this previously. We currently have, I guess, expectations and obligations under the consent decree to commence projects 4 and 5. For various reasons, we don't think that doing that work as proposed would be a good spend for Ironton. Namely, we'd be spending millions of dollars, and we don't think it would lead to positive resolution of the issues contemplated by the consent decree. So in these scenarios, the U.S. Department of Justice allows for something called integrated planning, which is not uncommon when you have smaller municipalities that are governed by a consent decree. Integrated planning allows for a modification of the consent decree obligations in a way that potentially extends time and could lead to larger scale improvements over a period of time, as opposed to what we would refer to as sort of band-aid fixes that might not actually solve the issue. So obviously, no community, especially now, has millions of dollars that they want to spend on an issue that doesn't lead to positive resolution. So we unfortunately don't know what the best steps are to address the system issues, the wastewater treatment plant, and some of these stormwater pump stations until we complete this feasibility study. So at a high level, I'd just like for all of you on council to know that we've had probably 3 or 4 calls with US EPA, regional offices, and Ohio EPA since IBI has come into the picture with us on this project. Calls have been incredibly productive, professional, amicable. I received a response from Steve Kaiser. He's the attorney with US EPA who's in charge of this after our call we had, I believe on Monday. And it was just a lot of kudos for all the progress we're making. So I can take some questions. Kevin can take questions if you have them. But again, the goal of this is that it's a long-term 9-month study. It will enable IBI and myself to make recommendations to you and to the mayor about next steps here. The feasibility study is also important because we have nominated a number of projects for interest-free loans and potentially for grant money. These could come from certain federal infrastructure grants or stimulus money that would funnel through EPA. If we are fortunate enough to receive any of those grant or stimulus funds, if they become available, Ohio EPA would expect for there to be a feasibility study that assesses the viability of the plant as it exists now, and certain components of the system. So by having this done, we've not only checked the box and made the I guess productive efforts towards understanding how we fix the issue, but we also have these studies done in the event we are able to pursue any grant or stimulus money. So it checks a lot of really positive and helpful boxes for Ironton. I think Kevin is on. I don't know if he has anything he would want to add, but he would be the lead for IBI on this project for you.
Hi, James. You did a great job summarizing. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Craig.
I can only see a few people. Nate, I couldn't see you, so if you had a question, go ahead.
I did. Well, maybe this is maybe for the mayor, Kevin. What's the time frame on executing the contract? This contract we have here.
I can actually chime in there if you'd like. So,
okay.
The goal here, and that's a good question. I appreciate you asking. Is that by October of next year, we are delivering the feasibility study to US EPA, Ohio EPA, and the Department of Justice. The study has a 9-month time frame on it. So the goal is that we have this approved and IBI can commence its efforts in January of 2021, so that we can keep that deadline. Within that 9-month period, there would be a number of sort of benchmark deliverables that we have that Kevin and I will develop a schedule on. We're going to submit that to the agencies at the end of January. So, certain components of this can be done in a certain progression. So we might be able to give them the feasibility study data or the flow data from US 52 early in the system, or Batham Lane early in the system, things of that nature. So the goal, though, to stay on schedule is that IBI is starting this work in January.
Okay. Just to follow up with that, I'd like to go ahead and I'd like to sponsor whatever legislation is needed for that. Brigham, I don't know if you can draft that for our next meeting.
Yeah, I'll get with James. Get that to you.
Okay, I'd like to sponsor, and then I'm sorry, I had a few other follow-up questions. John, with that contract, will we split that typically between storm and wastewater with the professional fees?
It also would be addressing the flood pump stations, right, Kevin?
Yes. So part of what we would be looking at is not only the phase 4 and phase 5 CSO components of the consent decree, the wastewater treatment plant and the stormwater pump stations, because they all, as you know, work integrally. So that is part of the study as well.
So, John, can we split that 3 ways between 9 and 42 and 44? 40 and 42. Must be muted.
I'm sorry, I thought I was on live mic. Yes, we will be able to do that where it is most feasible.
All right, thank you. My next question is, has ODOT given any indication as far as being open to mitigate issues that we might find? Have we had any communication with them, or is it anything new or updates?
Yeah, so really we need the flow data presented to EPA and potentially even DOJ. Steve Kaiser has leveraged some of his contacts. Ohio EPA has certain contacts at ODOT. So once we have that flow monitoring data to the agencies, they will actually help us in engaging ODOT in discussions about, potential contribution towards how we address the issue, perhaps Ironton would agree to do it for some type of financial consideration. So those discussions haven't happened yet because Steve and others at Ohio EPA think it'd be premature to have them until we have the data that shows the impact. So, but that's why it's a piece of the study.
Okay. Last question from me. I know we paid for, I feel like a substantial amount of money for some phase 4 and 5 planning before the integrated planning came into play. Were we able to use any of that information going forward with this? And then my second follow-up with that, this is probably to John and the mayor. At one point, we looked at amortizing those costs through a 0% loan. Is that still in the play, or how are we going to proceed with that? And I'll take the information part first from James and Kevin, if you wouldn't care.
Well, the information part, right now, Michael is gathering everything that we submitted, and I reached out to the Andersons also to kind of help with that. But, that's should be coming soon. The information that we have, and Kevin, you could speak on using.
Yeah, I mean, we do have plans for both phase 4 and phase 5 that have been developed to date. So the mayor has provided those to us previously. So as we start digging into this study, I mean, there certainly are, sets of plans. And so as we start looking into the greater system and how those fit in and all, hopefully if it's determined that it makes sense for phase 4 or phase 5 to move forward in some fashion, I would certainly hope that those plans or at least components of those plans would be able to be incorporated rather than starting from scratch.
And Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is value in some of the monitoring data and flow data that was paid for. So that saves us some time and some effort.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good bit of information available in what we've been provided to date. And there's some follow-up information that would be good to have as well. And I know and the mayor, that's what the mayor alluded to. So,
right.
As far as amortizing those costs, yeah, except for the cost for those professional fees, are we going to amortize that? Are we just going to keep that expensed how we have it, John?
Nate, if you're talking about amortizing that with additional funds that we're to receive, is that basically the question?
No, I think no. If I recall, we were to have 0% EPA loans for planning costs with that, and we never.
Yeah, they were all.
Those were never capital. Those were paid for just out of professional expenses from that, and then it was never capitalized.
Nate,
go ahead, Sam.
I'm sorry, this is Kevin. So with that loan that you have, and we work with many communities that have loans with EPA. Typically, you can either pay out of pocket, as Ironton did, for the engineering, the development of the plans, or you can get a short-term construction or design loan from EPA. Well, you guys paid out of pocket for that. So if and when the plans that you paid to develop move forward to construction, and if you take the long-term 0% construction loan from EPA, you can also roll the design, the corresponding design engineering plans into that long-term loan as well. But you couldn't just go to EPA today and say that we would like to get a 30-year loan to pay for the engineering costs that we previously paid. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
So
that's all the
hopefully,
questions
yeah, hopefully at some point, if and when we use those plans, and you'd be able to rule some or all of that.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Thanks for helping us out.
Chris. I saw you had your hand up, Chris.
Two quick questions. One, the first one is, I remember, we had a presentation about phases 4 and 5. James or Kevin and this has been, I'm wanting to say it was maybe a meeting in September, maybe earlier. Have you guys had a chance to look at previous phase 4 and 5 presentation or what that was presented to us at the council?
Yeah, was that the presentation from Michael at E.L. Robinson?
Yes.
Yeah. Kevin and I have both watched the recorded version of that.
Okay. Is there anything you think, or is that going to be helpful to us, or are we kind of looking at scrapping the whole thing? Or
well, I can say it was. I'm sorry, James.
No, go ahead, Kevin, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say I watched that, a couple of months ago, or whenever the mayor first sent it to me, and Randy in our office has as well. And it was helpful to me, kind of hearing the history and how those phases were developed and what the challenges are and that. So yeah, it helped me start to understand some of the issues and challenges that you have in the system. So from that standpoint, yeah, it certainly was. I mean, I'm not prepared today to say, you should do A, B, C, but all of this information, is certainly helpful. We're not starting from scratch.
Okay. Second question, and I don't necessarily know, excuse me. This has came up a few times in MS4 committee. With the EPA, we have to, and Sam could help me out on this, we have to apply for a permit, and our past contractor was supposed to get on that, and I really haven't had a follow up since Michael left on that permit that we need, and because we had a couple ordinances kind of hinging on the application being approved. And that might be more of a question. Do we know any more on that, Sam? You know what I'm talking about, the green infrastructure permit or whatever we needed.
Mostly the first thing, Kevin and Randy, right? Randy is the one working on that. So they're working on the permit right now.
Okay.
But what you're referring to is our plan, which it's still waiting approval from them.
Well, Michael, I know a while back, Michael kept saying that the permit is, I was under the impression that we needed it. It was pretty time sensitive back then. An issue or
the annual permit, which is what I'm talking about right now, is we have to submit that. Well, Dennis, do you want to chime in? Dennis, you raise your hand.
Okay, I'm good. Like that, I just needed that explanation because I didn't know.
Full permit is something.
If everyone's fine with it, I'm
for our permit.
Right.
But the plan, which was that's on the MS. That's the EPA.
Right.
We operate under that plan.
Yep.
Yeah, Mayor, just maybe for a better understanding, is the permit cycle, I believe, is a 5-year permit cycle for your MS4 program. And with that permit cycle, you have a plan that you have to have approved by the EPA. Our plan was lacking in our last cycle, and that's what we took to Logan and presented to them. Our plan, we have not heard back from the plan, but irregardless of that, there is a 5-year cycle for all MS4 programs of our kind to reapply for. So it's actually two different entities that go into one, if that makes sense.
I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike?
Yes, I really don't have any questions, but I wanted to speak to what was presented to us this evening from the mayor. The consulting service agreement, I've read through it thoroughly, and it seems pretty standard and straightforward, well written. I was particularly impressed with the scope of services portion of the paper this evening. I've read through that. It's a very well thought out approach to the feasibility study. It builds on logic, I think. And I too would like to co-sponsor any legislation. I have a deep passion for this and improving our city. And any meetings that I might be able to attend, please contact me. I'd like to be very involved in this project. So you have my information on this. Thank you.
Any other questions for James or Kevin? Nate?
Great. I just have one thing. I know, but it's not a question. And I kind of talked to Kevin before. We're getting ready to hear from Dr. Bill Dingus about economic development. He comes once a quarter to give us an update. I would like to invite Kevin, same thing, once a quarter, just to kind of give us an update on the many projects he's working on in the city, from the South 3rd Street project to trails to sewer and stormwater, just to give an overview of where we're at on that. So I just want to chime in that. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time tonight. Oh, Chris.
I just wanted to quickly, show my appreciation for how quickly they are working. It seems like we've kind of been stuck in the mud on some of these issues for years, but it seems like IBI has came in and looked for grants and things for the city to help us out, and gotten things done, it seems. So I just I appreciate your guys' work that you've been doing, and I hope this keeps up and we see the fruition of all your guys' hard work. So I just appreciate you guys spending time on this and helping the city out with grants and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We're happy to be involved.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to move on to our next invited guest, which I was unaware of this evening. So I'm sorry, Dr. Dingus, but if you don't mind giving us a quarterly update on economic development, and Mayor, we'll make sure that per Nate's request that we try to stagger when Dr. Dingus presents a quarterly update and we get IBI's quarterly update. If we could stagger those so that so we don't have people waiting in the queue, that would be great. Dr. Dingus.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. Things are considering the pandemic, things are really moving extremely well in Ironton. We've had a few small businesses that will never return. It's just unfortunate for 1 and 2 people businesses. They've had it extremely tough. All the businesses had it rough, the small ones. But the economy as such in Ironton, of course, the big driver is Vertiv. They keep doing extremely well, and they have literally during this pandemic has increased their employment by probably by 40%, 30 to 40%, which is just for the economy is great. Other things, at the Gateway Center, it continues to move. The Ramada Inn, the Marriott, the Town Place, that building is moving along. We're hoping to have it open in the spring, hopefully by April, early May. had a lot of setbacks, some real challenges on getting materials in. This, if pandemic has caused any problems, it has been getting materials for projects. So that is moving well. We've got a pizza place at Little Caesars, and they're putting a small national chain, a small restaurant in there to go with it, so that will be helpful. We believe that there's a real good chance that the Welcome Center may have some feet going under it as we talk, so we should know within the next 2 weeks whether or not that is going to be a very soon viable project. So we're moving ahead on that and feeling good about it. In the downtown sections, of course, Rich Donahue with Central Furniture, he is just fixing everything up nice there in the old Kresge's building. We have the corner building, the Tim Gerhardt building. That is one that Silver Springs Development that has purchased, and they're doing a lot of restoration and really going to bring that back and make that a very attractive place for the town. That is one that's going to offer a lot of opportunity for us to really see it with a special event place in it and so on. The Brumberg moves ahead. We had expected to have to replace 30 to 40 ceiling joists, and our contractor is well in excess of 200 joists right now. These are large rough sawn joists, 2+ inches wide, and I think they're 14 inches tall and pretty long. So it's a major undertaking. The windows arrived yesterday, so it's difficult to put them in until we get the roof totally fixed, and we have to build the joists up in order to build rebuild the roof and get it new. But the windows are present, which we were afraid they would hold us up. So I think within the next 45 days, I'm hoping to see some dramatic changes on the Brumberg. The Staley building, it has sold to the Silver Springs has purchased it. They've got some big plans for it. We've got the group will probably be on the Ironton Iron property. The Columbia Gas contractors will probably be on there until midsummer. They've extended their lease and they continue to have a lot of employees there. The Wallahan building, we have decided, the LEDC, we've tried to sell that 4 or 5 different people, and each time we would get strung out 3 and 4 weeks, 5 weeks, looking and considering, and it just needs a lot of money. So we're going to go ahead and put $250,000 in it. We've got to put new roofs on it and electric and so on. So hopefully within the next 6 weeks to 2 months, that building will be refurbished greatly and be ready to bring a reputable business to Ironton. Over and all, of course, I mentioned Vertiv is doing well. Mighty Con purchased the old Ironton Steel building. They have just totally rehabilitated it, built a new street between the two Ironton streets there to service both buildings. So, in every part of the town, GTL Lumber, they're booming and doing extremely well. So, considering the COVID efforts, it's just remarkable how well things are really running as a whole in Ironton. I'd be pleased to respond to any questions about any of those projects. We do continue to look at the riverfront. We're hopeful that after we get the Brumberg finished, that we will be moving toward getting some condominiums in the upper floors. I do know that Silver Springs, when they purchased the Staley's, it's their intention to restore the apartments overhead there. And they're also reaching across the railroad tracks into a couple of the buildings and properties over there to start trying to develop that area. So as a whole, with local people like Tony Virgin and Rich Donahue and so on, it's taking hold well in Ironton. Let me say one other thing too before I ask for questions. I really appreciate the work you're doing on the sewer and on the wastewater. Of all the issues that we run into trying to recruit industry is capacity of our utilities to furnish their effluent and furnish their water and everything. So and the one way that the EPA really hurts you, they put a freeze on development. They won't let you have new taps. So before they do anything like that, I sincerely appreciate the work you all and Kevin and the others are putting into making sure this doesn't happen to us in Ironton. But I would take any questions, Mr. Chair, any of the council members or the mayor.
Chris.
How are you, Dr. Dingus? Appreciate you joining us.
Sorry, it's a minute.
What is it?
I'm sorry, it's a minute or two late there. So.
Oh, that's all right. We've kept you. We didn't. Just checking in on the possible maybe sporting. I don't want to call it a sports complex, but the possibility or any news on any development out State Route 93.
Yes, I might mention, and I don't know if Ralph Klein ever comes and joins you to speak. I know Ralph's been working closely in trying to get the connector on the trails from Vesuvius Inn to where that part becomes a little easier. Additionally, we're hoping right now there's a capital bill supposedly come out this week or next week in Columbus. We're hoping to have some money there to at least do some of the initial engineering, the development. It's a huge site, and it needs an awful lot of engineering, surveying, and so on. So we're pushing hard on that. But I know that Ralph last week before last, he worked really hard trying to get through ODOT to get money to help do the study for the trails.
Thank you
and
for
other
that.
projects, we're working with ODOT. Just FYI, we're turning in through the county engineer a request. We're trying to look at third laning the hills to better link Ironton to Route 32 and Route 35. So each of those elements kind of helps us out as well for moving product particularly. But I know Ralph and that's one of the projects, just the amount of money it's going to require is pretty serious. And we're trying to get the initial part to start the engineering portion.
Appreciate the update. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can only see Mike, Nate, and Chris. And Chris had his hand up. Anybody else? Dr. Dingus, I wrote down 3 things. First of all, I noticed the action going on there at Tim's newsstand, Tim Gearhart's old place. My dad used to always tell me as a kid that there was a theater inside that place. Is that something that's going to be salvaged or restored?
Well, I know that there was talk of wanting to do that. I'm going to leave that up to the owner. I shared with him. And when he shared that was his vision, I shared with him that it's hard making the Ronay happen. I don't want anyone to ever think we're going to be able to make money with these theaters, and we don't have the private dollars to really do it, support them through donations. So I do know that's some of his plans. He's got some plans he'd shared with me about a chapel type of wedding and different kinds of event centers. So, that would be one that you might sometime, because of all the development that they're doing, to sometime invite them to council and share with you all what their plans are, because it's a dramatic turnaround they have planned for Ironton. I'm just real impressed, but I don't want to steal their thunder, but they're doing. He is putting tremendous planning and effort trying to bring the front back to much of its historical value.
Thanks for that. The second question that I had for you was about the when you mentioned the windows for the Brumberg building,
Yes.
The artwork that's currently there that I believe the Ironton High School students did. This isn't necessarily just a Dr. Dingus question, but maybe the mayor could involve some of the people in our town that are actively involved in the arts, like the ladies at the vault, to repurpose that artwork in some capacity, whether it's other buildings that we have that are blighted downtown that could utilize that artwork, because, you know, for the longest time that building sat over there with things falling off of it, and people complained about it, but then once that artwork went up, it took on a whole new light. People actually liked looking at it again. So if we could somehow form a strategy, Dr. Dingus, maybe get in touch with Sam and some of the art community here in town to repurpose that artwork so that it doesn't just get thrown in a dumpster, I would greatly appreciate it.
Definitely will. John Mullins Construction is the contractor. I'll call him in the morning and share that we ask that all that be saved so that they will be available to the city if they have some ideas for repurposing. It was, for the Memorial Day parade put up a year ago, it did. It just made that whole area. Plus, it stopped all the pigeons from coming in. So it had a very practical value as well as a artistic and a beautiful one. So, but yes, that's a great idea. And I'll mention to John to ask him if he would plan to save those rather than scrapping them. And then if any of you have ideas, or if the school, if someone would want to take the leadership within the arts community, I'm sure John would be pleased to turn them over to them if there's a place to store them or whatever.
Okay, thank you. And the final thing I had was just about the House Capital bill. I didn't imagine with COVID and the list of priorities that the Capital bill would be something that would even be on the radar. So it surprised me to hear you mention it. Is that something that you feel strongly that will still possibly be included in? I know that our talks went well, but it was with the previous Speaker of the House, and I thought with COVID and his situation with the House leadership changing, that maybe we got dropped in the recycle bin, but it was kind of encouraging to hear you mention it. So
I do, if the capital bill goes. Now I'm assuming that it will. When you deal with, in Ohio, all your capital monies are funded with 20-year bonds, and those bonds started expiring spring of last year. So during this year, they've had a lot of capital capacity starting to build up. So if something happens that you go a long time without having a capital bill, then you have a void in payments down the road, which kind of fouls up a budget, because budget people forget if they don't have to put the money in 1 year, the next year it's hard to come back up with it. It's nice to keep it consistent. So they do have the capacity to fund capital bills for the next 20 years. It is our understanding that rather than going back to the drawing board, they took the actual capital bill that Larry Householder and others had put a pretty hard hand in putting together. And yes, we were definitely in the original capital bill before it all got tabled. My understanding is that, I know Bob Peterson said he is looking forward to the groundbreaking. So I feel good for the welcome piece of it. My hope is that it comes in. We believe we had between 2.5 and 3.5 million in the last bill. We may not get to end up with all of that now, because so many other things have come up, and this whole coronavirus has just created major issues. But I do believe that there will be a capital bill, and I do believe that we will get something in it. I believe. My hope will be that there will be some engineering money for doing the sporting that section, and there will be some money to seed the welcome center, because this welcome center, it's a very tight budget. The soils there are not good soils, and if we can't get some money to help deal with the soils and deal with the foundations like that, then I don't think we could ever borrow enough money to afford to build it with the funds coming in from the hotel motel tax, which is what we plan to pay for it with. But at this point, we're scared about that. The Holiday Inns are running way below where they've been in the past, and when we're bringing 109 new rooms into the with the town place, it's kind of scary right now as to we just want this market to return to where it was, where people start traveling, where projects start bringing people in. When we did the planning of the town place, a lot of that was Brady was on its way, if you recall, at the time. And a lot of those things have stalled. At this point, the one thing that has happened since we talked last time is Pure Cycle. They have their $275 million bond fully issued. So that project is under construction. And Ironton will be a benefactor of many of the expenses from that, at the hotel and the restaurants and so on. So that project is going full speed. But at this point, I do think there will be a capital bill, and I do think Ironton will have some benefits.
Chris.
Last thing, I was very pleased to hear the funds going into repairing the Woolahan building. I've always thought it's a really good property in Ironton. So I was really pleased to hear that there's going to be some repairs and prepare it to host a business. So appreciate that, and I was very pleased to hear that as well.
Well, thank you. We tried to sell it to different individuals or companies, and then when they got into it, saw the difficulty, like in the roofing out front, the 8,000 square foot, that roof is called, that's the one they term the Widowmaker. It is it's really got to be taken all the way down and built back out. So we're going to borrow the money and have the money, and we'll get it back when we sell the building or lease the building. But we just feel that it's essential that we go ahead and take the responsibility and do it right rather than piecemealing it. But thank you.
Dr. Dingus, thanks for joining us. Thank you for the update. Thank you for your work for Lawrence County and the citizens of Ironton, and we appreciate you joining us for our quarterly updates and waiting your turn patiently. So
No, and I appreciate what you all are doing, and particularly your work on the sewer system and the wastewater. That's so very important. So thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, any other audience participation from you? Mayor's address? No. Any council members? Chris?
Quickly, Bobby Neiman, I followed up with him, have spoken with him a few times. He wanted me to thank all involved for the hard work. Everybody's work on the zoning situation he had, but he said he really appreciates everybody taking the time and looking into the issue that he brought before us. So he was really appreciative of how the city handled the situation. So I just wanted to pass that along to you guys. Also, I've really got something to follow up with Susan on, but I guess I think she's on vacation this week, so I'll wait till January to follow up with her. That's it. But once again, Mr. Neiman, thanks you guys for handling.
Any other audience participation? Moving on, we have no communications this evening. We have no reports this evening. We're blessed with 3 ordinances this evening. If the clerk could please give first reading to Ordinance 2075 by title only.
Changing the date of the regular city council meeting for the second Thursday in December 2020 and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Bob usually throws his hand up, but I can't see him, so I'm going to assume he's throwing his hand up.
There
Bob?
you go. I am. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. We suspend the rules on ordinance 2075, give it second and third reading by title only.
Second.
Mike. I saw Mike first. Motion to suspend the rules, seconded by Mike. Roll call, please.
Cleary,
Aye.
Haney,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Hawk,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Rist,
Aye.
If the clerk could please give ordinance 2075 second and third reading by title only.
changing the date of the regular city council meeting for the second Thursday in December 2020 and declaring an emergency. Second reading. Changing the date of the regular city council meeting for the second Thursday in December 2020 and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2075.
Second. Second.
Sorry, my screen went black. Who motioned in?
I made the motion to adopt.
And Mike seconded it. I heard him.
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Cleary,
Aye.
Haney,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Hawk, Klein,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Rist,
Aye.
Ordinance 2075 is adopted, which means that our next city council meeting is Tuesday, December 22nd at 6 p.m. Just FYI. Moving on to ordinances. Ordinance number 2076, if the clerk could give it first reading by title only.
amending the permanent budget for the city of Ironton, state of Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2020 and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Bob.
Yeah, I'd like to mention that ordinance 2076 got a favorable recommendation by the Finance Committee. And I would also like to go ahead and make a motion that we suspend the rules and give 2070 76. Yeah, thank you. Second and third reading by title only.
Chris.
I'll second.
I saw Chris first that time, Mike.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Roll call, please.
Cleary,
Aye.
Haney,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Hawk,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Rist.
Aye.
If the clerk could please give ordinance 2076 second and third reading by title only.
Amending the permanent budget for the city of Ironton, state of Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2020 and declaring an emergency. Second reading. Amending the permanent budget for the city of Ironton, state of Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2020 and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Mike?
I'll make the motion we adopt ordinance 2076.
I'll second that motion.
Bob? Any discussion?
Yeah.
Roll call.
Cleary,
Aye.
Haney,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Hawk,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Rist,
Aye.
If the clerk could please give ordinance 2076. I'm sorry.
Adoption.
Ordinance 2076 is adopted. If the clerk could please give ordinance 2077 first reading by title only.
authorizing the mayor to enter into the attached consulting services agreement with IBI Group Engineering Services USA, Inc., and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Chris?
I'm pretty sure Kevin or James and the mayor said this is pretty time sensitive, right?
No, this is the North Fifth Street Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
this is going into the 21 budget, but it doesn't matter one way or the other. If you guys want to clear it off the agenda or leave
let's
it.
go ahead and do that.
It
Make a
was
motion.
favorable-
Greg, go ahead.
It was favorably recommended by Finance Committee this evening. I heard somebody say Greg. I don't know who it
that's
was.
this is Mark.
Okay, Mark.
I would appreciate it if it could be given second, third reading today if council is so inclined.
I'll make the motion to suspend the rules, give ordinance 2077 second and third reading by title only.
Jacob.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Cleary,
Aye.
Haney,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Hawk,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Rist,
Aye.
If the clerk could please give ordinance 2077 second and third reading by title only.
authorizing the mayor to enter into the attached consulting services agreement with IBI Group Engineering Services USA, Inc., and declaring an emergency. Second reading. Authorizing the mayor to enter into the attached consulting services agreement with IBI Group Engineering Services USA, Inc., and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Bob.
Make the motion to adopt 2077.
I'll second.
Chris. Or Mike, either one. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Cleary,
Aye.
Haney,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Hawk,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Rist,
Aye.
Ordinance 2077 is adopted. Next, we have resolutions, and there are none. Down to miscellaneous. Nate?
I had one thing. Brigham,
Yes.
you wrote a letter on October 1st concerning the AT&T contract. Would you be able to work with John's office to help remedy that situation?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mayor, did you have miscellaneous?
No, I have. That's all I have tonight.
Okay. Bob?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Jacob?
I'll second it.
Not only did he second, but he gave it a number 2. So. Roll call, please.
Cleary,
Aye.
Haney,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Buck,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Rist,
Aye.
Thank you all. See you December 22nd, if not before.
You got it. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.